Hey Algebra 1, let's get working on lesson 12.5. We're finishing up the year here. We're talking about methods of solutions, and we've gone through a bunch of them. We're solving quadratic equations, and remember, quadratic equations make a parabola, and the form is ax squared plus bx plus c, and we always want them equal to 0. We started a long time ago by factoring these out, and we did a lot of great factoring, so that's the first way we did. The second one is just using the property of square roots, meaning, I'm going to show you a little example here. If I had like x minus 2 quantity squared equals 9, I know I could take the square root of each side, and we get x minus 2 equals plus or minus 3. And when I solve, I can add 2 over. And sometimes we forget to actually solve this, so don't forget to solve this, but that is the property of square roots. The last thing we did was completing the square. Completing the square was not very hard, but I'm sorry, not the last thing. That was in 12.2 we completed the square. The last thing we did was that quadratic formula song, which I know you all love to sing. So, what would you do to solve for this one, and how would you solve it? Now, there's obviously multiple ways that we could do this, but I would probably use the red up there, the property of square roots. So I would probably add the 98 over, and then I would probably divide by 50. 98 divided by 50, which we know could simplify by 2. This would be 49 over 25. And because we can simplify by 2, I'm going to show it again. X squared equals 49 over 25. When I take the square root of each side, I get x is equal to plus or minus 7 over 5. How you doing on that one? That should be fairly easy for you. Now this one, example 2, I'm thinking most of you would go for the blue, number 4, the quadratic formula. So let's go ahead. X is equal to opposite of b. Well, let's go ahead and name our a, b, and c. We're pretty used to doing that. A, b is 10, c is negative 5. X is equal to opposite b plus or minus square root b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. And remember, that thing that gets you is right here, this right here. Y'all put this whole thing in your calculator like this and figure it out. Don't do it in your head. So we're going to put in our calculator 100 minus 4 times 3 times negative 5, and you get 160. Just do that. Thanks. Negative 10 plus or minus the square root of 160 all over 6. Well, we know that 160 can be 16 and 10. So this is going to be, moving on, negative 10 plus or minus 4 root 10 all over 6. Now remember, if you could reduce, we can reduce. So I'm going to take out a 2, and I have negative, just kidding, that's not negative 10, negative 5 plus or minus 2 root 10 all over 6. And then the 2 and the 6 can reduce. Our final answer, which took us a long time, is negative 5 plus or minus 2 root 10 all over 3. All right, let's keep going. For this one, example 3, I would probably complete the square. We know to complete the square, we want to get the x's alone, x squared minus 12x, and bring the 3 over by subtracting it. We're going to complete the square. Half of negative 12 is negative 6 squared is 36. What I add to one side, I add to the other. And now we're back to those perfect square roots. We know that this can factor right here to be x minus 6 quantity squared. Negative 3 plus 36 is 33. When I take the square root of each side, I get x minus 6 equals plus or minus root 33. Don't forget your plus or minus. And when I add 6 over, I get 6 plus or minus root 33. Completing the square was a great option right there. And last but not least, let's look at example 4. There's no a term here, so I would probably just factor it. Are there factors of 8 that add up to be 9? There sure are. R plus 1, R plus 8 equals 0. So remember, I could take this whole thing and make it equal to 0, and this whole thing, well, make it equal to 0, and when I subtract 1, I get R equals negative 1, and when I subtract 8, I get R equals negative 8. So voila, you could choose the best method. The nice thing is that you guys have already done all these methods, so the great thing is you know how to do all of them.